What is a scientific fact that absolutely blows your mind? Voyager 1 has been traveling 30,000 miles per hour for 43 years and it's only 20 light hours away. When you dream, one portion of your brain creates the story, while another part witnesses the events and is really shocked by the plot twists. Approximately 99.85% of all the mass in the Solar System is concentrated in the Sun. The time period in which dinosaurs lived is so vast, there were dinosaur fossils when dinosaurs were still alive. Edit. A lot of people are rightly pointing out that there are currently human fossils around too. I admit that I thought that the fossilization process took a lot longer. I'm still blown away by the scale of time though. If you put one of every animal in a bag and then pick one out, you have a 1/5 chance in picking a beetle. Dinosaurs lived on the other side of the galaxy from where we are now. There are 8 times as many atoms in a teaspoonful of water as there are teaspoonfuls of water in the Atlantic Ocean. Slime molds don't have brains or nervous systems but somehow retain information and use it to make decisions. Even more crazy is that they can fuse with another individual and share the information. How much empty space there is in atoms. Like how the fuck I'm a solid object, I'll never understand. You can fit all the planets, Pluto included, between the Earth and Moon. The size of animals still blows my mind. You can read about how a manta ray is 23 feet long and 3 tons, but it doesn't really hit you until you realize that's heavier than most cars. The human body has at least 150 billion neurons. If some sort of super-advanced alien species on a planet 80 million light-years away from Earth built a high-tech telescope that let them see objects on the Earth's surface, they would be seeing dinosaurs right now. If 2 pieces of the same type of metal touch in space, they will bond and be permanently stuck together. Space welding, cold welding. I recently read about the split brain experiments. There is a procedure for severe epilepsy that involves cutting the connecting nerves of the 2 brain hemispheres, resulting in the 2 hemispheres being unable to communicate with each other. The experiment shows that both halves can answer questions independently of each other, have separate opinions, preferences, form memories independently. Basically suggesting that there are 2 minds in the brain. That just blows my mind. Edit. Typos. If the distance between Earth and the Sun were the thickness of a dime, the next closest star would be 10 miles away. Caterpillars basically dissolve into liquid in the cocoon. The only thing left are the so-called imaginal discs, groups of cells that contain all the information and the mechanism to turn that soup into the various body parts of a butterfly. The same applies for other insects. When the pyramids were built, there were still some woolly mammoths roaming the Earth. Without the development of genuinely sci-fi travel technology like wormholes or hyperspace, which may not even be possible, 99.99%+ of the universe will be forever locked off from us. Because of cosmic expansion, the various galactic clusters are moving away from our local cluster faster than we could ever catch up to them. The WOW signal came from a planet, bit in space 17,000 light-years away. It emitted a signal 30x stronger than anything we can make today. It lasted for an entire 71 seconds, was on 1444 Hz, frequency of hydrogen, most abundant thing in the universe, and we couldn't find the signal again after pointing to the same spot. Edit. Wasn't a galaxy it came from. There are some Ice Age animals that are so perfectly preserved in permafrost that scientists have been able to find them still with all their soft tissue, hair, and organs. They even found a couple mammoths that still had liquid blood in them, and I remember one scientist even tasting the mammoth meat. Also, there was a mummy found in China that was so well preserved that she still had all her skin, hair, organs, etc. Her body was even flexible that you could bend her limbs as if she was alive. They even found her last meal still in her stomach and could perform an autopsy on her to tell you why she died. She died over 2,000 years before she was found. A million seconds is 12 days. A billion seconds is 31 years. A trillion seconds is 31,688 years. Fat cells do not burn or disappear. They just shrink. All matter literally gives off light, but we can only see a sliver of that spectrum, although we do have tools to help us see other spectrums. Our bodies give off infrared, and are basically glowing in that portion of the spectrum similar to how iron glows to our normal vision when it's heated. Something that sees a different spectrum than us might not see hot iron as glowing at the same temperatures we see iron glow at. The strongest known acid is called Fluoroantimonic Acid, and it is made by combining a solution of 2 different ions in various quantities. Without going too crazy into the scientific details, the part that blows my mind is that at certain ratios of the two ingredients you can get an acid that is 1 quadrillion times stronger than 100% pure sulfuric acid. At acidity levels like this, pH fails to even be a useful metric, as the pH of any solution would certainly be less than 0. Additionally, it is so acidic that it can force carbon atoms to have 5 bonds instead of 4, breaking one of the fundamental principles of organic chemistry. Tumors can grow teeth and eyes. The astronauts on the ISS aren't floating around because of lack of gravity, far from it. They are in constant free fall, falling over the horizon of Earth, being pulled by gravity towards the Earth. All of life can be tracked back to, or several depending on who you ask, continuous billion-plus-year chemical reaction. T-Rex lived 66 malrillion-ish years ago. Stegosaurus lived 155 malrillion-ish years ago. The gap between Rex and Stego is 16 malrillion-ish greater than between Rex and present day. The Moon is just large enough, and just far enough away from Earth, to be able to create full eclipses. Some forms of anesthesia don't numb you to pain, they make you forget that you felt it. There are no photos of the present. Monkeys have entered the Stone Age. Exponential power. Fold a big sheet of paper that is 0.1 mm thick 50 times and the height of stack is over 20 times the distance Earth to Moon. Thank you. The double-slit experiment, to determine whether light is a wave or particle, changes depending upon observation. Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than the building of the Great Pyramids. We don't know if the sun exists as of this second. Of course there's no doubt it is still there, etc. But the light needs about 8 minutes 20 seconds for the distance. And as nothing is faster than light, all we can ever say for sure is the sun was doing fine this time span ago. When you lose weight it leaves on your breath. So when people lose 100 pounds 50 kilograms, they have exhaled that much carbon. Echidnas and platypus are the only two animals that lay eggs and also produce milk. This means they are also the only animals that can make their own custard. Quantum entanglement. Actually probably just that entire field. A speck of dust is halfway between the size of the sun and an atom. This is not true. Did some research and the article I found here gives a better scale. Time isn't necessarily linear. I know it, but I can't comprehend it. If you lock yourself up in an opaque cube, a four-dimensional being could still see you. The reason for near weightlessness on the International Space Station is nothing to do with low gravity in space. It's still very close to the massive ball of wet rock that we live on, and still experiences 89% of the gravity that we do. It's just that the ISS is in, almost, freefall, so everything is accelerated by, almost, the same force. It also experiences air resistance, as do most satellites. There isn't a hard boundary between air and no air, it tapers off. Oh, and the ISS is already 7 years past its original life expectancy. In 9 years, it will be decommissioned and put on a controlled course back to Earth, smashing it down into the Pacific Ocean. The knowledge that the atoms of our bodies contain elements only forged in the center of stars, and that such stars upon death blow the elements via supernova across the universe and into our very existence. We are made of stardust. We've never actually seen what the entire Milky Way looks like since we're located inside it. Ice doesn't cool your water, the water heats up your ice. Energy transfers one way. When I realized this studying thermodynamics, I sat and just let it hit me. I friggin' love chemistry. The cosmic horizon, those vast swathes of space we will never be able to see or know anything about, as space is expanding faster than the speed of light. Solids and liquids don't burn. Only their vapors and gases. That's why you can't just throw a huge log on the fire and have it burn. You need to haul its temperature up until the surface starts pyrolysis and turning into a gas, which then burns. Edit. Good example is gasoline, petrol versus diesel. Petrol produces vapors at quite low temps so you can throw a match on it and ignite them. Diesel does not, so you can't light it by flicking a match into a pool of it. It's the vapors that burn, not the liquid, solid. With the help of quantum tunneling, there is a 1 in 5.2 carat 61 chance that the molecules in your hand and table would miss each other when slamming it, making your hand go through the table.